Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. You know what? Let's start off with this whole Chase dying scene, or his slow death scene, because at this point, this guy has been dying for like 2 weeks. And watching this episode and watching Chase slowly die and coughing up blood, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, like, are these writers like sadists or something? Listen, I love a good emotional story. I mean, hell, I watched This Is Us. Um, so I love a good story like that. But I felt like this was just like kind of, for me, a little bit torturous. You know, it was just so sad and so dreary. Even watching, like, the his face and just like death, pretty much. It was just like I started looking at my phone, to be honest, because after a while, just looking at this whole scene, looking at Willow cry, it just was just. It's one of those things, and I know I said this yesterday, is that we need to sit there and wrap this up. Okay, either he needs to die, or they need to sit there and find a way for him to live, because this dreary crap has gone on long enough. And yes, I did see towards the end and the the previews and stuff like that. So they, by the way, Sasha comes there, and yeah, Sophia, I think that's her name, is pregnant in real life. So congrats to her. And yeah, it definitely adds the whole, to the whole, she's pregnant on the show, so it works. She was there, and Willow was there, and Gregory, and Jackie was there, and like, they're outside and they're talking. That's just another sad, heartbreaking scene, and not in the This Is Us kind of moment. Just like, I mean, listen, it's heartbreaking. No one, there's a saying as far as parents should never outlive their children. So watching that whole scene was just heartbreaking, but this is all leading up to the fact that, when Finn was sitting there talking to Cyrus, and Cyrus says something about, oh, your son is dying, or something like that, yada, yada, yada. Granted, by the way, what I really don't understand is that Cyrus is being Cyrus, like he normally is. And he just pretty much said, hey, just my condolences, I'm so glad that you finally got to know, or, you know, um, know who your son is, and you can sit there and spend your last hour. Some crap that he said. And this made him think about why the drug didn't work. And I'm just sitting there thinking, how did you get, like, inspired from what he said? Like, when Liz was sitting there talking to Finn, I understood it. She said something, and it popped up that. I don't really understand how, like, I don't know how he just got that answer, but whatever. He got it, and at this point, he seems like he has a new ray of hope. So, that's cool. That's cool. Now they're doing a whole marriage thing, and Willow's going through it because at this point, Chase is dying, and of course Willow sits there and talks to Sasha, and Sasha's like, "You sure you want to do it?" And she says yes. I'm not gonna lie. This part of this episode just really took a toll on me. And it didn't take a toll on me in a bad or emotional way. It just took a toll on me like this needs to be over at some point, like very soon. But it is. So that's cool. That is the one thing that is that actually saved that whole scene towards the end, is that he actually finally found an answer. Um, he's not there talking to Chase, and he's like, "No, I haven't given up yet," and stuff like that. I was like, "Bro, you really did give up." I mean, granted, you do get to a point where you hit the wall, but still, I mean, at this point, they're gonna finish it. So, yeah, cool. So, turns out that Stella is staying. I, in the intro, you see all the different faces and stuff like that, and yes, I saw Stella's there, and I was just like, oh, that's just so great. Yep. I can't wait for more scenes with Stella. You know, I'm not gonna lie. I was sitting there thinking about this. Actually, tell you the truth today. And this is about the whole Stella, kind of butting in Jordan's life and, talking about her marriage and, her kids and stuff like that. And one of the things that made it a little bit laughable for me is that I don't think that Stella was ever married, and I don't think that Stella actually has kids. So it's very impressive that she can sit there and walk up to Jordan and start telling her about what TJ's doing. Start sitting there trying to police her about her children. Start sitting there trying to be all judgmental about her marriage and how she should sit there and fix it and not give up this, that, and the third. And I'm like, you don't have kids, and you're not married, and yet you're, trying to dispense advice to her because why? Like, what exactly makes you qualified to, button out of one of those lanes? Because I don't really understand that. But yeah. So she's staying because, not even gonna get into it. But she's not there helping Curtis, and she's against him leaving, and she's just, I don't know, she's being all loud about something about Curtis leaving, and so yeah, she's not there talking to Curtis, and then at some point, I don't remember if they mentioned Portia or something, but Nina comes in, and at some point they do mention Portia. And Stella just has that judgmental look on her face, that angry, like, that kind of look. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, lady. Like, I don't want to sit there and say I've never liked Stella, but I'm going to be honest. Even the fact that she wasn't even saying that much, just the looks on her face is just like, why can't you just go back to London or, like, wherever you're from? Like, I can't. Anyway, at some point she leaves. Thank goodness, because I felt like she was sitting there sucking all the goddamn air out of the room. Nina and Curtis talk. He talk about Portia. And at some point, he says to himself, he says to her that he felt like, he missed his chance, because he felt like he wasn't ready. And then now it's like, he kissed her and they kissed and he pushed her away. So it's like, I don't know, like now she just wants to be friends. And, Nina's like, you should sit there and talk, you should sit there and talk to her, find out what's going on. Now, at some point, Curtis gets kind of tired of talking about himself, so he's talking about Nina, and Nina talks about spending time with Wiley and Nixon Falls, but she doesn't really talk about Nixon Falls that much because, she's too busy covering her ass. So, I have a brief conversation about that, and then at that point, she leaves. She also talks about how she's, sad because she hasn't really been a good friend, and she's been kind of her own world, but, that's just life, so I can't knock her for that. I can knock her for a lot of things, but that's not one of them. But, yeah, she leaves, and, that's pretty much about it. And, then Stella says, like, she has, like, plans, in Port Charles, and hopefully it's, like, her actual own plans, and not just, well, let's be honest, pretty much her whole plan is just going to be, butting in other people's lives that I'm not gonna sit there and say that don't concern her, but like, listen, Gertis is a grown ass man, and the only thing that Stella's gonna sit there and do is try to, push Jordan into trying to get back together with Curtis and push Portia away because she's bad, and you know, listen, they didn't have a great start. I give her that, but it's like, yo, how about you let him actually run his own life like a grown ass man instead of they're trying to like, play interference and like Cupid. Don't you have like a love life that you want to like get to or something? Or I guess not. Too damn busy being a damn busybody. So awesome. Now Laura talks to Portia, and Laura's like, how's things with Curtis and stuff like that, and Portia's sitting there thinking about that time that Stella, well, pretty much got in her face and told her to back off. And I'm like, or else what? What are you going to do if she doesn't? Anyway, she thinks about that, and, then she's like, yeah, we talked and stuff like that, and realized that, we're just better off as friends because Stella, so that was fun. Now, Jordan is having a hell of a good time coming in Cyrus' room. Smith is saying, you're going away for a long time. And yeah, just in case you sit there and think I'm going to perjure myself, I talked to the feds. And pretty much the feds want you way more than they want me. So, yeah, she pretty much spent the majority of her time gloating. And don't get me wrong, it was actually a great scene to watch. Especially, Jordan being under Cyrus' thumb for like, months or a year? How long has Cyrus actually been in town? I don't know. Anyway, it was good for her to sit there and just feel empowered again and, whatever. So, Cyrus was like, listen, your reputation is going to be, like, shredded. And she was like, I don't care because, like, justice or whatever. So, anyway, the feds came, got him, talked to Laura, said something cryptic about, like, we're both in darkness or some crap like that, and you're going to embrace your darkness sooner or later. Some crap that's probably going to sit there and leave a lasting impression, which is kind of odd, but not really. It's not like Laura hasn't done dirt before. Like, was that comment just supposed to reignite that or something? Anyway, he leaves, and then he goes to the elevator, and, I don't know, was it in this episode or in the, previews? But, Jordan does come to Laura and it's like, listen, I'm going to give my resignation or whatever. I don't remember if she said it in this episode or the previews, but I'm just like, you can't do that. Because, like, who's going to be the commissioner? Like, seriously, who would actually... I guess Mac would. They would actually have a reason to... Well, I don't know. But yeah, I guess Mac would be the next best choice, but... they're going to sit there and fight her tooth for nail about, her quitting and stuff like that. I mean, listen, she did dirt. I don't know. At this point, I'm like, Jordan, no offense. I mean, granted, you do have your son, and that's great. But, like, your marriage is pretty much done. Maybe working may be, like, in your best interest right now. You know what they say about idle hands, so... Just saying. Now while Britt is not there being nice to Liz, she lets her know about Cyrus and stuff like that. She also lets her know about Anna, and, possibly going up to the roof to sit there and try to find, like, Peter's body and stuff. Apparently, Liz and Finn thought it was a good idea to move the body. I'm pretty sure at some point Liz was just like, hey, we should just leave him here, and whatever. I'm pretty sure that's what she said. But now, they had the genius idea to move the body and to put it on ice, and then when everything, like, cools off or whatever and they stop looking for him, then they can sneak him out the hospital. I'm just like... And the thing about this scene, Liz seemed like she was just so, like, ready for it. Like, yeah, let's do it. Let's hide the body. We can hide it over there. We can do this, that, and the third. And I'm just like, Saint Liz, huh? Saint Liz that loves to sit there and judge damn near everybody at times, you know, always about truth and, you know, not lying and yada yada yada. I guess she feels a little bit differently now because of Peter and killing Franco, but I'm like, you know, you do actually still have kids, and you're covering up a murder, and you're hiding evidence. I guess you just assume that that's just not going to get back to you, right? Like, that's just... Okay, alright, cool. So, yeah, they hide the body. Now, Anna's not there talking to Britt, and they're talking about, where could Peter have gone, and cameras and stuff like that, and she gets the idea about going up to the roof. So she's searching on the roof, searching everywhere, and she finds this door or something that just looks out of place, and she starts moving it. And it's the same place that Liz and Finn hid Peter's body. I guess Peter had, or Wes Ramsey had like one more appearance, so that's cool. So the question is she actually going to get to the body in time? Now, I mean, is she actually going to sit there and find the body? Now, Liz the whole time has that look on her face like that. I don't know, like that like, I don't want to sit there and say that villain look, but like that, you know, damn well this girl's up to no good kind of look. So she's sitting there like, is Anna going to sit there and find a body? Well, what are you going to do if she does? Were you going to knock her out? Like, what is your plan, Liz? Like, okay, alright, we're doing that now. Alright. So, I think, and I could just be wrong, but I'm thinking, the last scene is, Jason and, Carly. So in the beginning, they talk about, you know, the transfer of power and stuff like that, like, you know, who's going to be in charge, yada, yada, yada. Now, at one point, you know, Britt calls up, no, not Britt. Carly asked about Britt because, you know, she saw them holding hands and stuff like that. Now, at first, and to some extent, I felt like Carly was just being Carly, just being super possessive and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure that does play somewhat of a factor into it. But, you know, later on, well, actually, to tell you the truth, towards the end, when Britt sits there and calls Jason, you know, they talk on the phone for a little bit, and Carly's like, was that Britt? And I'm just like, at first I was like, yeah, and? Like, what, you got an issue with that? But then, it hit me. It hit me because when you saw the next episode, it showed Britt and they're talking to Carly. The reason why Carly is so overprotective of Jason as far as Britt is concerned is because, you know, listen, now that the danger's over and, you know, he doesn't need to sit there and protect her, you know, Jason is about that mob life. And Britt, you know, Carly looks at her like, yo, I don't think you can sit there and handle this lifestyle, you know? So she's worried about that. And, well, to be honest, you know, at first I would sit there and say, well, you don't know how she's going to sit there and react. You don't know what's going to go on. Like, you know, she could be totally fine with it. Here's the thing. Sam was totally fine with it. Sam was 100% fine with it. Until she had kids. And then her priority changed. Now, granted, it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, granted, if you sit there and look at that, it's like, yo, you're going to sit there and have kids with a guy that you know that is in a dangerous lifestyle. And while you're cool with that, you would sit there and think, maybe this may not be good for my children, so maybe we shouldn't really get involved in that way. But whatever, hindsight is 20/20, so I understand exactly where Carly's coming from. Even if Britt says that she's okay with it now, is she really? You know? I mean, we all saw how she was there acting and reacting to the danger and stuff like that when the danger was coming for her. You know, so I understand where Carly's actually coming from. At some point, Brando does come over and wants to know about his future, in the organization. And Jason's like, listen, you got a baby on the way. Like, this may not be exactly the good time to, decide to stay on board and whatever, Brando's like, I want to do something. This is fun, yada, 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 yay. And it's like, bro, I don't know if Sasha's actually okay with the fact that you're just, still in the mob. Like, granted, you're in the better one, but it's still, like, guns and stuff, so... and I'm sitting there thinking, like, so, did you actually think about, did you forget the fact that you're actually having a child before you decide to actually try to come back in the fold and win a promotion and stuff? Like, I don't understand how that worked. I really don't. And it's going to be very interesting moving forward, see how that conversation is going to go. I think for the most part, I think I'm done. I mean, I think I pretty much covered the majority of this episode. When you have a cast this size, especially in this episode, or just the episodes in general, I always feel like I missed something. Hell, even when I'm doing days, I feel like I missed something, and they have a much, much, much smaller cast. Now, before I go, there is a comment that Julia made about pretty much just being like the fact that they have way too many characters sometimes in a specific episode, and it doesn't really leave a lot of room for character development. Or sometimes it does happen, but it just happens so slow. Or like even with this Chase dying scene, it's been going on for like what, 2 weeks? Like he's been dying for 2 weeks. That makes sense to people. I understand that it's a soap opera time and physics sometimes. It's whatever. But when I was sitting there thinking about the fact that I was like, oh, I think I kind of got it all, I'm just like, Jesus Christ, there's so many damn characters in this episode. It just... I look at this show and I look at Days, and I've said this before, but the one thing that I do like about Days over GH is the fact that a lot of times they will have a smaller cast, and that leads to more stories, more story of these specific characters within that hour. You get more out of the characters in Days sometimes than you will with GH, because there's just less people and they're not sitting there. I mean, I'm looking at my notes and I'm like, okay, how many people did we actually have in there? And then it's like, yeah, people that cross over with other people. It gets to a point I start putting 1, 2, 3, Z, A, B, W, T, F, like... And it sucks because, when I put my video out about the Metro Court hostage situation, like they used to do like the big events or whatever, like even the hotel fires, they don't do that anymore. And looking back at those episodes, it's like why can't we not do that anymore? You throw all these characters in there, I don't know, maybe they're just they're trying to maximize the amount of story that they're telling, but I don't know. Either way, it just kind of sucks sometimes when you just have so many characters, and it's like some scenes and some characters don't necessarily need to be in these episodes sometimes. So it's like, anyway, with that being said, I'm gonna go. Yeah, yesterday's video was hella long, and I want to apologize for that, but I felt like I just had so much to say. But yeah, with that being said, I'm gonna go. Thank you for watching. Be safe. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. I'll see you in the next video.